What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything you need to know about and what's going on here in our country on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so. And remember that new videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here. And also, thanks for hitting the like button for us down below. We got a lot to talk about here. Multiple different states now passing more stimulus checks, stimulus proposals we're going to talk about here in this video. And the federal government says this, that there is still $15 billion in rent assistance stimulus funds, but you need to act quickly. So, yeah, that's right, $15 billion in stimulus funds. So, for example, President Biden just sent $800 million over to Ukraine. There's still $15 billion in rent assistance still available. Literally over 15 times more money available just in rent assistance still available for you guys right now. And that's just in rent assistance. There's also homeowners assistance. There was $9.9 billion of that just became available in like December and January, depending on the states. So probably the vast majority of that is still available here. Check this out. There's been roughly $46 billion allocated to rent relief since late 2020. As of late March here, 2022, obviously, there's 15 billion of that is still left unspent. But those needing aid should not hesitate to apply. I'll tell you how to do this here in just a moment. So there's still $15 billion of rent assistance available. And that's right, it's completely free to apply. Still available. There's homeowners assistance available and utility assistance available in addition to all of this. This is stimulus money that has literally from the last stimulus package, okay? Yeah, during the early weeks of the pandemic, new jobless claims were filed by the millions, and in the absence of having money in savings, many Americans quickly fell behind on essential bills. Thankfully, protections were put in place to prevent a mass homelessness crisis. Those included a federal moratorium on evictions and the option for mortgage borrowers to put their home loans into forbearance for a period of time. Those protections have since run out, but that doesn't mean the struggling with housing costs are completely out of luck. Borrowers can work with their mortgage lenders to modify the terms of their home loans in an effort to stay current, and tenants who are behind on rent can still apply for rent assistance funds. And there's homeowners assistance funds as well. The last two stimulus bills signed into law allocated about $46 billion in rent relief money. Those funds were distributed at the state level, and each state was tasked with taking applications for the aid. Much of that $46 billion has been spent, but most states aren't out of money just yet. As of the end of March 2022, over $15 billion in rent relief had not been given out yet, as per the U.S. Department of Treasury. That means there's still $15 billion money available to those who act quickly. If your application is approved, you may be eligible for up to 18 months of rent assistance where they will pay your rent for up to 18 months. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to get 18 months. Sometimes you'll get your rent paid for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. You can see here that could include money to cover past due rent as well as upcoming rent. You may also be eligible for additional aid even if you already received some rent relief funds. So it's worth contacting your state housing office and seeing what options you have. You can do that. I also have videos showing you how to do this and how to find it in your area completely for free. Generally, to be eligible for rent relief, you have to prove the pandemic had a negative impact on your finances, which most people have been impacted by the pandemic. Your income can't exceed 80% of your area's median income. So you have to be middle low income. And each state has their own method for prioritizing applications. Some methods give priority to applicants who are unemployed or whose income has fallen, or some people who are behind on rent. Hopefully, you've applied for this in the past. If you've been watching my show for a while, I cover this periodically. Um, you know, States have actually gotten a new allocation of this here recently because remember, if you've been watching my show for a while, you may have heard me say that a lot of states got a first round of rent assistance, and then after they showed the federal government that they were sending it out appropriately and in a timely manner, then they would have got a second round. So a second round has been going out here in the last 30 to 60 days, depending on each state. Each state is a little different. Some states require you to be behind on rent, some don't. Some states just require you to be low income. Some states require you to be affected by the pandemic, which could be a whole bunch of different things. Um, my thoughts is that if you think you're any of these things, go ahead and apply. I have links for you down below in the description of this video, and I'll link you to them at the end of this video. My goal here on this channel is just to help out as many people as possible. I cover everything: Social Security, student loan forgiveness, state stimulus checks, federal stimulus check, daily news, pretty much everything you guys need to know about here on a daily basis: rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance. So I have links for you guys down below in the description of this video, and for I'll link you to it at the end of this video so you can continue watching this video. But I have literally had thousands of people that have already watched my channel and said, thank you for showing me how to do this. I have videos showing you how to do this, how to find the programs in your state and in your area. Literally might just take you an hour. You go and apply. It definitely will take your state some time to do this. I get a lot of people that tell me, you know what, Jimmy, I applied. You're right. It took me about an hour to, watch your video and then go and apply. And I didn't hear from my state for several weeks. And then I got a call or I got an email or I got a response, and then they paid my rent for X amount of months. And thank you so much. And it warms my heart when I see messages like that. I still see messages like that all the time, all the time. It's pretty cool. But hey, I do this for free. I don't charge anything. Some people want, people to pay their channel and stuff like that. I don't do anything like that. If anything, I've given away well over $10,000 here on my channel. So I'm here to try to help as many people as possible at this point. So links down below in the description of this video. You may need to click the little down arrow next to the title, or just watch to the end of this video and I'll link you to some videos you can click on the screen. Next up, we have several different states that are proposing stimulus checks and passing stimulus checks or even stimulus packages, like the state of Illinois, who has just passed their package. Their checks aren't the largest. Their checks themselves are pretty small, but they have several different things in their package, including checks for homeowners that can be up to $300, pausing their uh, several different taxes as well. Here it is, directly. You hear it directly from the governor, just so you believe it. And we have several different states after this here as well. Check this out.
Now the state budget is officially signed. In it, relief from grocery tax, gas tax, and even savings in property taxes.
Our state is in its strongest fiscal position in generations.
Governor Pritzker, touting his balanced budget, says it will provide $1.8 billion in relief for taxpayers. The budget suspends the tax on groceries for a year, freezes the motor fuel tax for 6 months and doubles the property tax rebate up to $300 per household. The budget also provides direct checks to families making less than $200,000 for an individual household or $400,000 for those that file jointly, with $50 per person and $100 per child, up to 3 children per family, and includes financial aid and even educational opportunities.
A firm fiscal foundation means that we're investing in better education for our children, upgrading schools and classrooms, attracting more teachers, and expanding after-school programs and summer jobs. We're launching the pipeline for the advancement of the healthcare profession to recruit and train more students for high-demand medical careers. Balancing the budget allows us to stoke job creation across Illinois.
The governor also says $1 billion is going into the state's rainy day fund. State Republicans who voted against this budget call these tax breaks temporary, providing tax relief just before an election, expiring right after the election. The governor signed the new budget just a short time ago.
Now, although Illinois' checks themselves are small, you have to realize that Illinois has been in dire straits with debt for many, many years. So, just the fact that they're coming out of this debt and they actually have a balanced budget for the first time in many years is quite an accomplishment. So you kind of have to put that into perspective. I'll actually show you a little bit of info here in a second. So a lot of states are actually coming out of debt. Same thing with California, where they were billions and billions of dollars in debt and actually seen basically a 180-degree turnaround and had enough to send out those stimulus checks last year to 27 million people, $600 per person and $1,100 per person with children, and they're probably going to send out something this year as well. They have a proposal for $400 per car owner, $800 for mom and dad, or grandma and grandpa if you're two per household this year. So we've seen a lot of dramatic turnarounds here in the last year or two, and a lot of the state stimulus has helped that. So you can actually see this right here. Before this balanced budget, Illinois had recently had um, assets of $53 billion, but had $187 billion in liabilities, meaning they were in debt with a debt ratio of 468%, the largest in the US debt ratio. To pay that off, every person in Illinois would needed to pay $15,000. Not that they would, but just to show you how much debt Illinois was in previously. So this is the first time they've actually had a balanced budget. So just to say that Illinois could give out larger checks, you just kind of have to realize what each state is kind of coming from to even give out checks, right? Each state's in a different financial position. But in this, checks will range from the size of $50 to $400 depending on a person's tax filing status and the number of dependents claimed. Single people who made the less than $200,000 are eligible for $50 checks and $100 or $100 per couple, and they will receive $100 per child or per dependent up to 3. In addition to this, so again, there's kind of a couple different checks here, so you got to kind of remember that here. In addition to this, the state is also rolling out one-time property tax rebates for homeowners. These are checks. The break will amount to a 5% rebate on however much the homeowner paid in property taxes. It will cap at $300. So homeowners will basically get a check back as well, up to $300. That's an additional check that you normally wouldn't have got. A lot of states are doing this here as well. A lot of states are giving checks back to homeowners and even renters in some cases as well, depending on the state. Now, here's a key point. This is a lot of states, you have to pay attention to these. So everybody listen up, because a lot of states, that are doing these stimulus checks, you got to pay attention to this. This is why I'm trying to help everybody out here. The direct payments, officially an income tax rebate, which technically the federal checks are as well, but they have the non-filers tool. States don't have that. Are available to those who file state tax returns. This is where it gets important. The property tax rebate is available to those who don't file state returns. Again, this is for Illinois, but this is important for other people when stimulus checks come out for your state. You got to pay attention. Each state's a little different, okay? The property tax rebate is available to those who don't file state returns. They will have an option to fill out a property tax worksheet either electronically or by filling out a paper form and mailing it to the Department of Revenue. According to Mara Kaunake, a spokesperson for the department. The governor also said the rebate fits into a broader effort by him and other Democrats to reduce property taxes, such as the 2019 consolidation of downstate police and fire pension funds. Pritzker said that this has already reduced some upward pressure on property taxes as well. Also note, it also pauses food taxes and gas taxes as well. But the checks are expected to go out after July 5th, unfortunately. So you're probably going to have to wait about 2 months or so. But you have until October 17th to file a state tax return if you want to. So again, even if you don't normally file a state tax return, you can. You can just go ahead and file one to get this money. Just like the Maine stimulus checks that were just passed, the governor just signed off on that here as well. Though that's passed in the state of Maine, $850 per person or $1,700 per married couple. Same thing. You're probably going to need to file a state tax return for that. Even if you don't normally file one, you're probably going to want to file one this year. Okay, but again, talk to somebody who knows your tax situation or somebody who knows taxes. Get some tax advice, for your specific situation. Because if it means you getting this check, it might be worth it to file this year. Okay. Same thing with the child tax credits on the federal level, because remember that you're owed $1,500 to $1,800 from last year, from 2021. But you have to file a federal tax return. Remember, those are state tax returns for the state stimulus checks. I'll keep you up to date as many states as I can. On the federal level, if you have a child and you got those child tax credits last year, you're still owed $1,500 to $1,800. But you have to file a federal tax return last year, or for this year, for last year, but you file it now here in 2022. Even though the tax date is passed, you can still file it. You won't have any penalties, in fact, if you don't even owe the IRS. If the IRS owes you, there's no penalties. And even if you owe the IRS, the amount that you owe them will be tiny. The penalties, it's based on a percentage of what you owe them. So if you owe them like a small amount, you're going to owe them like pennies or a few dollars in interest. Don't even worry about it. Still file. If you don't file, it'll be even worse. You definitely want to file, especially if they owe you money. Keep that in mind. Also, another state here that we haven't talked about, I don't think, before, the state of Washington, not Washington, D.C., but Washington State. Republican Senate leader wants a special session to suspend the state's gas tax in Washington State, which, again, it's another way of putting money back in the people's pockets. Every time you go to fill up gas, you would save money. This is from the Republican Senate leader of the state of Washington. Yeah, he wants to vote to suspend Washington's state gas tax. Yeah, and he indicated that revenue collections are running more than $255 million above what it projected in February. And the state's government financial picture keeps getting better while the affordability crisis keeps getting worse, they said here in a statement this week. If you're younger than 40, you have never had to contend with inflation rate this high. Higher costs for food, gas, housing, and energy are predictably getting harder on the gig economy and hourly wage workers and older people with fixed income. He went on to criticize the Democrats. This is typical Republicans and Democrats always criticizing each other instead of just working together, right? Um, During this year's legislative session that concluded on March 10th, with no across the board tax cuts passed yet, at least. Ooh, he says, get this. For younger people looking to become first time homeowners or start a family, it's a real shock. Democrats don't seem to have any useful answers. Republicans offered the idea after during this year's session for helping families. Get this, in spite of a $15 billion budget surplus, ooh, Washington state has a lot of money. $15 billion budget surplus. They need to send out stimulus checks with that. But I guess they're looking to potentially do tax cuts. Tax cuts are good though because they're well, they are potentially doing that property tax relief, which are basically stimulus checks. They tried to do it, but it died in committee. It doesn't mean that they can't still pass it, because a lot of times they just have to win the votes over change something, which would have exempted $250,000 of a primary residence from the state property tax. So they are potentially working on stimulus checks in Washington state. Proposal of a small tax cut via a 3-day sales tax holiday around Labor Day as well. That's not to say there was no tax relief in the $64 million supplementary budget. That's interesting. Republicans are proposing to suspend the 49.4-cent state gas tax to the end of 2022. That will be expensive. First of all, that's 50 cents basically. And through the end of 2022, that's a lot of months. That's a lot of months. I know a lot of other states say it costs $150 million a month. And of course, it depends on the size of your state, how many people are in each state. But to do that all the way to the end of the year, would be very expensive, very expensive. It'd be better to send out a stimulus check, honestly. But this gives you an idea of how the states are working on stimulus checks. This is the same kind of thing that goes on in the federal government here as well. It's a lot of give and take, a lot of give and take, and it's a little different in the federal government because Democrats can pass a stimulus check on their own through the reconciliation process. That's how they passed the $1,400 stimulus check. Um, Basically as soon as Biden came into office. I mean, it took him a little bit of time, but that's how they passed the $1,400 stimulus check and the stimulus package with rent assistance, mortgage assistance, utility assistance, and the child tax credits that were passed for all of last year and have now expired because they were only able to pass it for 1 year. They did get Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema on board here with that, and they're now trying to pass another massive package here this year as well, which could basically have all the same things. It could have another stimulus check. It could have another child tax credits. It could have the exact same recipe here, really. Um, Republicans could come on board for things like the child tax credits in a standalone bill, um, but we'll have to see. I will keep you up to date here with everything. This kind of gives you an idea on how all the states are basically one by one coming forward with stimulus packages of their own. Each state's a little different, and it depends on the state's financial well-being, really. So that's why I kind of like to show you this. Some states can propose larger stimulus checks or smaller, or not at all. It depends on the governor's point of view as well, and the state legislature, if they're Democrat, Republican, or how they want to work things out, and also if they think they have enough money for the future. if they think they're going to run out of money in the future as well. So I'll keep you up to date here with everything. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. Here's those videos I told you about. You want to watch one of these next. You can click this top video over here to watch my newest video. This bottom video is how to apply for utility assistance. This video over here is the top video is how to apply for rent assistance, get up to 12 months of your rent paid. And this video over here is how to apply for homeowner's assistance, get up to $80,000 if you're a homeowner. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.